Denver, Colorado, 1978. Kids and parents are gathered for a Little League baseball game. Finney Blake is pitching, with his sister, Gwen, cheering him on. Finney manages to throw 2 balls that get strikes, but on the third, another player, Bruce Yamada, hits the ball and scores a home run, letting his team win. Despite the loss, Bruce commends Finney for his arm, telling him that his arm is mint. Bruce is later seen riding his bike around town, greeting some girls from school along the way. Then a black van pulls up in front of Bruce, and he stops in his tracks. Finney and Gwen live with their father, Terrence, an abusive alcoholic still mourning the loss of his wife and the kid's mother after she committed suicide. As the siblings start walking to school, they see a missing person flyer for Bruce that his father put out for the second time in the hopes of finding his son. But Gwen doesn't think that the police are going to find any of the missing kids alive. When they get to school, the siblings see a crowd of kids gathered as the school bully, Moose, is antagonizing another kid named Robin Ariano. Unfortunately for the bully, Robin is the toughest kid in school and skilled at fighting. He easily dominates Moose and drops him to the ground, then beats his face to a bloody pulp. Finney and Gwen keep walking, and Gwen is happy that Moose got beaten up because he used to bully Finney. She says that Moose is stupid for picking a fight with Robin since Robin is the toughest kid in school, since a serial killer, known only as the Grabber, got a kid named Pinball Vance Hopper. Finney is not comfortable with Gwen calling the Grabber, since he thinks that the Grabber takes kids who say his name. Unbeknownst to the kids, the Grabber is driving around the streets, looking for his next victim. At school, Finn is bullied by 3 boys who follow him into the bathroom and call him names. Before they can bully him further, Robin enters and threatens the bullies that if they mess with Finney again, he will mess with them. Robin and Finney are good friends, and he also encourages Finney to stand up for himself. Meanwhile, 2 detectives, Detective Wright and Detective Miller, arrive at the school and speak with Gwen in the principal's office. Gwen claims she has dreams relating to the missing children taken by the Grabber, but she cannot explain the meaning behind these dreams. The detectives are suspicious about her dreams because Gwen apparently told Bruce's younger sister, who is her friend, that she saw a black balloon. The black balloons were also reported to have been seen when Bruce and the other kids went missing, but the police department never released those details to the public. After school, Gwen goes to sleep over at her friend's house because it is Friday, and Finney returns home. The next day, Finney wakes up to find Terrence beating Gwen because of the cops visiting his job and asking questions regarding Gwen's dreams and the correlation between that and Bruce's disappearance. Gwen breaks her dad's liquor bottle, and he beats her harder. He orders Gwen to say that her dreams are not real, as her mother had similar dreams that were believed to be premonitions. Later on, Robin is walking around an empty neighborhood. He then turns the corner and finds the Grabber's van parked before the Grabber gets out of the van and starts walking toward him. Later that night, parents around the neighborhood are informed about Robin's disappearance, and Terrence tells Finney and Gwen. The police started a wide search, but the same like the kids before, they couldn't find any trace. Finney is broken by his friend's disappearance, and Gwen sympathizes with him. Finney asks her to try and see something in her dream that could help the police find Robin. Gwen then goes to her room and starts praying to God to show her the dreams to help find Robin. But Terrence comes and tells her to go to sleep. The next day, the bullies at school go after Finney and start to beat him since Robin isn't around to protect him, but Gwen defends him by whacking one bully over the head with a rock, causing him to bleed a lot. Gwen gets kicked in the face, and the other 2 bullies continue to beat Finney. Later during class, Finney is paired up with his crush, Donna, as his science partner. She offers sympathies for Finney getting beaten. After school, Finney splits from Gwen as they walk home since it is Friday, and she is sleeping at her friend's house. As Finney is walking through an empty neighborhood, he encounters the Grabber's van. The Grabber poses as a regular man spilling his groceries, so Finney starts helping him clean up. But once Finney spots the black balloons, the Grabber attacks him, and Finney fights back and cuts his arm with a mini flashlight. But the Grabber sprays his mouth with a chemical to knock him out before he's thrown into the van. The Grabber brings Finney to his basement in anger, threatening to snap his neck for what he did to his arm, and keeps him prisoner. The Grabber taunts Finney but assures him that he will not hurt him and promises to explain everything. The Grabber then hears his own phone ringing from upstairs, so he leaves to answer. Finney tries the door, but the Grabber has already locked it. He starts looking around the basement, but only finds a toilet and rolled up mats. Finney also finds a black phone on the wall there and tries to call for help, but the phone is disconnected. That night, Gwen learns that Finney is missing, so she quickly runs back to her home. Gwen is heartbroken by her brother's disappearance, and she starts praying again to see her dreams again. Back in the basement, Finney hears the phone ring once. He picks it up, but there is no one on the other side. The Grabber then appears and tells Finney that he will take him home soon. Finney promises not to tell anyone about him if he lets him go, but the grabber just says he will be upstairs for a while. Finney threatens to scream and notify people around, but the grabber doesn't care, as the room is soundproof. Finney asks him if he is the one who killed all the other kids, but the grabber says it was someone else and that he will not make him do anything he won't like. He then orders him to hang up the phone. The grabber claims to have heard it ringing before, but says it is just the static electricity. After the grabber left the basement, Finney started screaming for help, but as the grabber said, the room is soundproof. Finney then sees one window and tries to escape through it, but it is too far for him to reach. He tries to use the bed to reach it, but the bed has been bolted to the ground. Finney then takes a nap for a bit, where he hallucinates the black phone moving, but is then startled by the grabber, who is strangely sitting there staring at him. Finney asks him for food, but the grabber tells him that he will have to wait since he can't bring him any food at the moment. Finney asks him why he even came down, and the grabber says he just wanted to look at him before he leaves again. Later, the phone rings again, and Finney answers it. This time, he hears someone calling his name, and he gets freaked out and hangs up. The phone rings again, and Finney answers. He hears the voice of Bruce, who notes Finney's arm in baseball, calling it Mint. However, Bruce doesn't remember his own name or what he did when he was alive. Bruce gives Finney a tip about a space in the hallway floor where he can move a tile and begin digging so he can get out the other side. Back at home, Gwen has a dream where she sees a flashback of Bruce's life from childhood and is developing interest in baseball before she sees Finney trapped in a house somewhere. Gwen quickly starts riding her bike around that night, looking for the same house she saw Finney trapped in her dream. But unfortunately, she couldn't find a match. Meanwhile, Finney spends his time digging in the hallway Bruce told him and flushing the dirt down the toilet. After he finishes, he covers the hole with a rug. The next day, the grabber brings Finney eggs and a Sprite, assuring him the food is clean and there is no reason for him to drug or poison him. He also leaves the door unlocked, but as Finney walks toward it, he hears the phone ringing again. He answers, and this time he hears the voice of a local paperboy named Billy. While talking to Finney, his ghost appears next to him, his face having been slashed by the grabber. Billy tells Finney that the unlocked door is a trap, and the grabber will be waiting upstairs for him with a belt. So as soon as Finney tries to go upstairs, the grabber will beat him until he passes out. Billy warns him not to go and hangs up. Finney, however, tries to go upstairs but stops and changes his mind. As Bruce told him, the grabber was waiting for him with a belt. Finney gets downstairs and eats his food. Meanwhile, at school, Gwen gets sent to the nurse's office to rest since she was sleeping in class. In the basement, Finney gets a call from Billy again, who mentions a cable he left in a crack under the wall. Finney asks what he will do with the cable, and the Sprite bottle there rolls around and points to the window. Finney grabs a rolled-up mat and slides the cable up through it to the window bars and attempts to climb his way out, but his weight causes the bars to get pulled off, leaving him with no way to get back up. While Gwen is sleeping in the nurse's office, she has another dream that shows Billy's life as a paperboy, delivering with his dog before the grabber got him. She also sees the grabber standing in front of his house while holding black balloons. That night, Gwen speaks to Terrence about her dreams. He tells her that her mother would talk about having dreams that are visions just like Gwen does, and he thinks this drove her to commit suicide, so he wants to prevent Gwen from falling down the same path. Gwen, however, still believes that her dream might help save Finney, so Terrence helps her by driving her around so she can pick out the house that she saw in her dream. Meanwhile, the detectives go around the neighborhood and speak to a man named Max, who is doing his own investigation into the missing kids. Max theorizes that since the grabber grabbed most of the kids when they were getting back from school, he has to be able to get them back to his place fast, which means he got a house with a garage. He can't risk them getting away or waking them up if he is knocking them out, which means that the grabber has to leave somewhere in the neighborhood. The detectives ask him how long he has lived in the area, and Max says he lives somewhere else and that he is staying with his brother for the time being. The detectives didn't take him seriously and leave when they see a line of cocaine there. Unbeknownst to Max, Finney is held in the basement of the house, and his brother is the grabber. Finney continues to dig the hole deeper before he waits for the grabber. Later, the grabber returns, bringing him some food. He asks Finney his name, but when he lies about it, he spills the food in anger and throws Finney a newspaper showing the news of his disappearance. The grabber tells him that he was beginning to like him and was considering letting him go, but since he lied to him about his name, he has changed his mind and leaves while leaving the door unlocked again. The phone rings again, and Finney picks up, but there is no one else. Meanwhile upstairs, the grabber is waiting again with a belt for Finney to come up, but he starts to get sleepy. Later, while Finney was sleeping, he started to hear a dripping sound. He looks around with his mini flashlight and sees blood dripping on the floor. He is startled to see the body of a boy floating while his throat is slashed. The boy's body then points at the phone. Finney picks up the phone and speaks to a boy named Griffin. Griffin tells him about a lock combination that he had written down. This is part of a game the grabber likes to play with his victims called Naughty Boy, in which he beats his victims with a belt when they try to come upstairs. But since Finney never tried to go upstairs, the grabber can't beat him, and if he can't beat him, he can't kill him because he needs to play Naughty Boy first. Finney finds the numbers, but Griffin cannot remember the exact combo. He tells Finney to go upstairs and try every combination of the numbers he gave him on the lock of the front door since the grabber is asleep. While the grabber is sleeping, Finney sneaks upstairs and tries every combo he can think of until he unlocks the door. Unfortunately, the grabber's dog, Samson, barks at the sound of the unlocking, which wakes up the grabber. Finney runs out of the house and only makes it barely down the street before the grabber catches him. Neighbors turn on their lights, but the grabber threatens to kill Finney right then and there if he makes a sound. He waits until the lights turn off before taking Finney back. The next day, Gwen wakes up without having any dreams at all. She gets angry at God and even doubts his existence. Back in the basement, the phone rings again, but this time, Finney hears the voice of Pinball Vance Hopper. His ghost appears and starts to talk to him. A flashback shows Vance at an arcade where he fought with two kids after one of them messed with his high score. As a punishment, he carved a series of numbers on one of the kids' arms. He was arrested shortly after. In the flashback, Gwen finds herself alongside Vance, who is talking to Finney through the police radio, but Finney cannot hear Gwen calling out to him. They end up at the house of the grabber, where Gwen tries to remember the address number before she wakes up. She later rides her bike through the area to find the house while apologizing to God for doubting him and asking him for help. Suddenly, she gets spooked by the ghosts of the grabber's victims, making her fall off her bike. The exact place she fell down is in front of the grabber's house. Meanwhile, Finney listens to Vance's advice to dig on the wall in front of the toilet, which will lead him to a freezer. He tells him to get the panel off to the freezer and get in. Once he gets into the freezer, he can get out through the storage room. Finney thanks him for helping him, but Vance tells him that it isn't about him and screams that he wants the grabber to suffer before he gets pulled into the darkness. Listening to his advice, Finney uses the toilet's outlet to dig into the wall and then unscrews the panel of the freezer and gets in. Finney tries to push through the freezer door as hard as he can, but to no avail. He begins crying, fearing that he will die there. The phone rings one more time, and he answers. It's Robin, and he remembers both Finney and his own life. He tells Finney that he was always his friend, and that now is the time that he really needs to stand up for himself. Robin tells Finney to practice using the phone as a weapon and teaches him some useful combat moves. He then tells him to fill the phone with dirt to add some heft to it. After they finish, Finney asks him if he will be able to talk to him after, but Robin tells him this was the last call. The two friends say their last goodbye, and Finney proceeds to fill the phone with dirt just as Robin told him. Gwen contacts the detectives and goes with them to the address she saw in her dreams. While this happens, Max comes to the conclusion that the missing kids are in the house he is staying in and realizes that the grabber is his own brother. He goes to the basement and is shocked to find Finney there. Just as Max attempts to help, the grabber returns and kills him with an axe to the head. The grabber is enraged and blames Finney for making him kill his own brother. He tells him that he normally uses a knife to kill his victims, but for Finney, he will use the axe as he wants it to really hurt. Just as this happens, the detectives, along with other cops, arrive at the house Gwen reported. The detectives break into the house and begin searching, but find it empty. Meanwhile, the grabber calls in his dog and ties him near the door, so Finney can't escape. He goes after Finney, but the boy has utilized all the help from the ghost kids at his disposal. He jumps over the rug covering the hole he dug, using the cable to trip the grabber and drop him into the hole, where he breaks his ankle after it hits the bars from the window. Finney then begins beating the grabber with the phone using the move Robin taught him. He beats him a couple more times before the grabber tries to get a hold of him, but Finney takes off his mask, making the grabber scream. Finney uses this chance to wrap his neck around with the cable and strangle him. The phone rings one last time. Finney forces the grabber to hear the voices of his victims taunting him over his demise, and Finney finishes him by snapping his neck. He then grabs a steak from the freezer and throws it to the dog to keep him distracted and escape. Meanwhile, the detectives almost gave up on Gwen's lead until one cop noticed an opening behind a fridge. They move the fridge and get down to the basement. Instead of finding Finney, the detectives find the bodies of the other 5 boys buried in the dirt. The house where Finney was being held is across the street. He unlocks the door and steps out into the sun, where Gwen sees him and runs to her brother. The siblings embrace each other in happiness. The authorities take care of the kids, and they are picked up by their father, who tearfully apologizes to both of them for how he treated them. Sometime later, Finney returns to school more confident than before. The other kids see him as a legend for killing the grabber, and the bullies no longer dare to mess with him. He rejoins Donna in science class, but he tells her to call him Finn.